around to answer questions from the crowd. But I just first want to congratulate you both on a beautiful film. And I'm going to kick you off with a question. Just can you guys tell us how you came together to create this beautiful film?
So it's a funny answer, actually. We needed funding for, once we realized we were going to work with Filippo and different things. This is way before it became a documentary. And I was like, what would people want to fund? What would donors get behind? And I was like, something educational. We could do a documentary. Saying this, knowing nothing about documentaries. So I called Nora, and she, we talked about it. She said, well, let me come just watch a rehearsal while you look at funding and all those different things. And she filmed the first rehearsal on her phone. And that's nice. I like seeing everyone's faces. And then we received funding to support it. And full disclosure, the amount Nora was actually paid for this and the amount of time that went into it because of the sound editing is not even comparable. So we started out with one idea, and it ended up, as I said in the film, becoming so much more. And in the process, although we've known each other for a while, we've become very dear friends. So,
does anybody have a question they'd like to ask? And I would like to also mention that we are recording this conversation, so I'll be bringing a microphone to you so we can hear your question. Thank you.
How often did you guys get to rehearse with Filippo?
we had a standing day that he would come, and it was such a gift because of the pandemic, his gigs were really almost shut down. He had some work at the college, but he had quite a bit of time, so it was such an unusual window of time. So the students, because I'm trying to remember, I feel like our schedule at the high schools shifted so many times, but I think we were in a long block. He would come for about an hour and a half at least once or twice a week, and then when he had a gig, he'd go. So it was inconsistent, but it was definitely at least an hour and a half every week.
Yeah, it was just also about Filippo. Is he doing anything anymore with kids or kids in the area, or is he now just totally busy and out of it?
His career has absolutely exploded in the last year. So he still does. He's actually very involved with a few younger groups I have that are in the New England area, but right now he's the assistant conductor for Boston Baroque, which is new and exciting. He works with the Middlebury Opera Company, and between that and Dartmouth, and his wife is pregnant and due in January. So he's got a lot of stuff going on, but we're hoping to rekindle a youth project in the future.
Do you get a group of kids this amazing every year? I mean, as composed and sort of philosophical and introspective and articulate and wonderful?
Yeah.
In high school?
We would pick different repertoire if I were to do this year. It might be equally as complex. The voicings change, but we're also in a very privileged community between the hospital and Dartmouth College, and have many students that have families that can have them take private lessons from the time they're young. And there's a few in there that didn't take private lessons and have done a lot of community groups and really studied that way. But and there are years where I have kids that are way more geared toward musical theater than classical, but this was also a very special group. There were many, many seniors there as well. So if depending on the year, you have more or less seniors. And that particular year, we had a bunch that had stuck with it. And this was also sort of trying to give them a carrot in a year where we couldn't do what we normally do, a masterworks concert, where we'll do like Schubert's Mass in G, or we'll do the Messiah. But because of the aerosol restrictions, we couldn't do that. So this was a chance for them to get that solo, duet, trio coaching in an environment where we could negotiate the aerosols, but we couldn't give them that chance to do a masterwork on the stage.
Yes.
So Nora, how did you get hooked?
Well, it's interesting. The music, I think, The pieces that Jenny and Filippo chose are so beautiful that that's the first thing that I responded to. Originally, I thought I was just going to be recording some coaching sessions. Really, I thought, oh, well, this is going to be for them, for the school, you know, it's a useful tool to have this documentary about the coaching and the process. But it became more for me, much more for me as well. And actually, each time I see the film, I just get so happy because the kids are so alive. And as a filmmaker, I'm always looking for subjects who are really alive. And well, and the adults in this film happen to be also, Filippo and Jenny are also like that. And so it's kind of I get exhilarated when I watch the film because of the music, but also because of the liveliness of the kids. And what happened was, because they were all wearing masks all the time, and I really wanted to see their faces, so I asked Jenny if it would be okay if I went to their homes and interviewed them. That wasn't really going to be part of the film, I don't think, the documentary particularly, although Jenny had given me carte blanche to do really whatever I wanted. So I felt okay about asking, and then some of the parents said yes, and some of the parents said no, or, you know, so I ended up interviewing some of them at school and then some of them at home. So, yeah, I think that answers your question probably, the music and the kids.
I just have a quick comment. I thought having the janitor at the beginning and the end of the film, perfect bookends, brilliant touch.
Earl! Yeah, Earl. Thank you.
I saw some hands down here.
I'm very curious to know what, in a documentary, I've always wondered this, it seems as if there's like 4 cameras going. You know, you've got distant shots and close shots, and when they did the performance at the end, there was one, and there was one that showed the sheet music and was close up on one of the performers, and I don't, how did that work too?
Well, because we had, actually, I filmed the rehearsal, as you saw the rehearsal, but I was able to get some close-up shots of different things during the rehearsal, like the pages. People weren't dressed, so I had to choose shots that didn't show the people. And then for the performance itself, I had a camera up in the loft of the church to get a wide shot, and then I was down below, just in one position. I didn't move, but because of that dress rehearsal, well, it wasn't because of that rehearsal, I was able to get quite a few angles, different kinds of shots. Yeah, and then, well, during the coachings, of course, it was just one camera, and it was just through editing that you create the effect of having more than one camera.
Very well done. We've got a question here.
Does Hanford High School still do like an opera program of some sort?
We do a Masterworks concert, which this year we couldn't do. So we have a student here, so surprise, Eli, you're going to hear what we're doing this year. But this year we'll be doing the Messiah, but we couldn't that year because, and I'd also like to acknowledge Julie Ness is in our audience. She's one of our beloved voice teachers. Wave, Julie. Her son Arlo performed tonight. More than half of the students you heard have her as a voice teacher. So it was an exciting process for us to talk together as well. And even in some of the programming, in full transparency, the Lock Me duet I've loved since I was little. Once we started it, I was like, oh my God, what have I taken on with these girls? And we definitely got there, but even just the phrasing through those lines, and it's not all caught on camera, but so much of the work Filippo did with them was that sustaining that line, and it sits so high in their range. So, and the one young lady, it makes me tear up watching. Lauren Brock there was the 2 Laurens, and I don't know if you remember, but she's the one that talked about pretty significant stage fright. And to see her come through, we had rehearsals where she would leave the room. She was so nervous. And so to see her get to that point where she was on that stage and executing that duet so beautifully was emotional for me as a teacher, and I feel like it's something she'll hold on to in her life, that she did it.
We are fortunate enough to go down to Tanglewood for several dozen concerts each summer. And I have to thank you. I think that might have been the most touching musical performance that we've seen this season. So I hope that Hanover fully appreciates, what you have collectively have accomplished. It's quite something.
Thank you, and it's Nora's mastery in capturing those moments.
Thank you so much. This is really quite wonderful. My question is about the kind of expansive scope of this project after the fact. And I know it was quite clear, Nora, that you caught some wonderful vulnerabilities on the part of several of these students. But at the time they were speaking to you, I don't think they could imagine that PBS might show this to thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. Is there any, were the students all okay with that, with the next steps of this film?
Well, I don't know I don't know completely. I do know that, I really don't know, because what happened was they all they went off to college, and it was really hard to stay in touch with them. Like when I interview adults or put them in films, it's easy, they're used to being in touch with people and adults. But the kids, they're on a whole new adventure, and so it was really hard I wanted them to come, I wanted so much for them to come to this and be here, and they couldn't, or maybe they didn't really want to, their lives, they're at the beginning of their lives, so this was just one early phase in their lives. I don't know if any of them objected to it. I had lunch actually with Taj a couple of weeks ago. He's at Bennington College now, and he didn't say anything to me about objecting to it. He seemed perfectly happy, and he would have come, but he couldn't Thursday night in college. So, but it's an interesting question. Jenny, do you know?
So to be totally transparent, obviously they had to sign all sorts of different paperwork early on in the process so that we could capture these moments, and so they knew right away, and I told them, which I don't even know if you know this, Nora, but I said, I'm watching her filming. This has the potential, I literally said to them, this has the potential to be on PBS. And one of the cutest moments was at the dress rehearsal. Una showed up and she was running from something, and she forgot that everything, they had cameras in, capturing everything. And she's like, my God, I look terrible. And I was like, Una, you're good, kiddo, it's all good. But they were used to it, and I think my experience having two teenagers is none of them want to watch themselves on film. So while I think they appreciate the process, it may take a few years for them to be really happy to sit with all of us and watch it. And I'm, 40 years old, and to sit and watch it myself, I still am like, okay, pull the camera back, that's a lot going on. And I was like, I have this weird eye twitch going on, can we fix that? And they're like, it's endearing. I'm like, is it? It looks like I'm having a seizure. But for teenagers, I think there'll be a point where they can, Laura's like, great. There'll be a point where they can come back and watch this. I really believe that, but I also feel like they live the process so intimately that it may take a little time, and none of them have said to me that they wouldn't watch it. They've seen it. They actually saw the really lengthy version before it was pared down, so they saw the stuff that was edited out.
Okay, I think we have 2 more questions.
Thank you. You said Taj is to Bennington. I'm wondering if you know where everyone else is going currently.
I know Gunnar was working in Portugal, not in school. The kid is so funny. So he was doing some community service in Portugal, and I know, but I think he was going to New York. Alicia did end up going to UCLA. So that's interesting. I don't know whether she's happy in UCLA, so that's, I think a lot of these kids I haven't heard a ton from. Una and Emily went to Berkeley, and they're singing there and doing really well. I actually got a picture of one of our students that was out visiting them. And Stella is overseas right now, and I'm blanking right now which country she's in, but she's having this incredible experience traveling the world. Kaya was in an opera shortly after this, and actually Lubeck, and actually Alex Hurd, you worked with Stella, right? Yeah. He's in the front, another voice teacher. But Kaya was saying, well, I didn't think I'd do much more, but I missed it so much. So she was in an opera.
And she's at Barnard.
And yeah, at Barnard. I'm trying to think who I'm missing. Stella, Kaya.
Riley.
Riley just started school, and actually his dad is right there. Wait, remind me which school he's at.
WPI,
and he actually called me on my birthday. I was like, are you home? And he's like, no. And I was like, oh, what teenager remembers their teacher's birthday? And Lauren Pigeon has been studying overseas and really passionate about history.
She's at St. Andrews, I think.
Okay, St. Andrews. Nora's the one you should be asking. I clearly know nothing. I'm like, they're out there doing their thing. And as she said, Taj is pursuing performance. I'm trying to think, did I miss anything?
Katie's at Providence College.
Okay, and she's super happy, I think, doing really, really well. So, and I have her brother, so I don't have to let go of the Davis family yet, which is great.
Okay, I think we have one more question in here.
I just noticed while I was watching the film, I caught myself a couple times just realizing I was grinning from like ear to ear, you know? And it happened several times. And I was thinking about that, and I realized your audio is so pristine, it was so nuanced, and I heard so much from every voice that I think that added a whole nother dimension. And it really like let their personalities, just the recording was so good, I think, that I don't know, I just found myself grinning because I could hear so well and I could really connect with these characters. So thank you for, I don't know how you did that, but very well done.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting because the sound people, that I had a couple of three people who did sound at various times. And I trained one of them on the spot, basically. You know, you have a good mic and you get it close enough, and then you get good sound. But I have to say also, and I agree with you, I feel that it's not just the way it was recorded and mixed also by Charles Gable Hagen, who did a really great job mixing, but it was also because everyone really had good articulation. Like everyone spoke really well. And maybe that comes from singing and taking singing lessons and learning to use your voice. But it's true, it's really, and Filippo also has a very expressive voice, and so, but the kids did too. So, yeah, thank you. That's a good question.
I'm going to join you guys on stage. First, I want to invite everybody to give one more round of applause. A few more thank yous and quick announcements before I let you go. I want to also thank, I know Arlo is still here, and Elizabeth, and our pianist who's
Hit another concert.
Hit another concert. Anyway, round of applause for our live musicians. I'd also like to acknowledge my colleagues at JAM. Cedar O'Dowd on camera over here. Nick Arvizu on camera here. Kate Barber up in the back doing still photography. And up in the control booth, we've got Charlie Rose, who's been running RAV. Chico Eastridge, our senior producer, also prepared the media NAV for today. I just also want to make a quick shout out for some upcoming things. Next Saturday at JAM, we are located downstairs in the Newbury Market next to Tucker Box. We're open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, but we often have evening and weekend events. But next weekend is really special. We have, in the spirit of RIF's history of doing issue-focused film screenings that have panel discussions and events, the first Farm to Film Fest. This is a partnership with Vital Communities, King Arthur Baking Company, with support from Vermont Humanities and Vermont Public, and it's an all-day festival with activities in the morning, short films in the afternoon, and a feature film in the evening with music, kids square dancing, food. But the theme is regenerative agriculture and its indigenous roots, and how we can find sustainable farming solutions to climate change. So I hope you'll come next Saturday. You can learn more on our website at UV Jam, where we also put out a weekly newsletter. In November, we've got a comic and zine fair coming. We've got 2 poetry events. So please stay connected with us. And remember, in February, we'll be having our main Riff Festival with local films and global cinema, bringing people together through media arts. So thank you both again so much.
Thank you so much.
And have a wonderful night.